Hello, hello. Let's start. Start chit-chatting. Thank you. Welcome to GameDev Meetup 75. Woo! Come on. Hello. Oh. So we have one speaker today, Vladimir Slav, and he will talk about aesthetics during design. Applause, please.
Thank you, Eric. All right. Without further ado, I think we can start with this. Basically, my name is Vladimir. I am 50% of Cold Wild Games company. My partner Helen is sitting right here in front. And I'm going to tell you how we try to approach the development of our newest game, Merchant of the Skies, by establishing the art style first and then creating the gameplay rather than the other way around. So basically, about us. Like, we're two people. Helen does art. I do pretty much everything else, but she helps with marketing. And we make games since 2016. Most of our games follow the traditional development scheme. We find out what we think is fun, build a prototype, then we arrange the art, create the plot, and then we ship the game. But it did not work quite well, at least most of the time. Our only really successful game, I think, was Lazy Galaxy, which also started as started as an early access game. So in this time, we decided to go and create Merchant of the Skies. About Merchant of the Skies, it's basically it's a simplified strategy game that involves trading and traveling around the world, encountering random curiosities and building your own trade company. It has shipped in early access on July 30th, and I'm going to tell you how it worked out and where did our journey take us. So first of all, how it started. I was working on our previous game, Rebel Story, and I was porting it to consoles, and at that time Helen didn't have much to do, so I just told her to draw stuff she likes by participating in Octobit and Pixel Dailies on Twitter. And some of it received good response, some didn't. Most of those pictures, I suppose, can be treated as concept art, but some of them, in the end, turned out worthy to be at least considered for the game graphics. And I think some really good concepts came out. We were able to measure the interests from people by the Twitter likes, and bear with me because I'm going to sound like an Instagram model a lot of time this evening. So basically we measured what is good by likes. And after all the results, we just selected the potentially easy assets that can be produced in a good volume. So let's say Helen can draw one picture like this with water and details, but how much time will it take to draw hundreds of pictures like this for the game? And in that case, for example, this temple style, if we disregard the clouds, is much easier to reproduce because it has its own aesthetic and unique feel, but it just doesn't have like tons of detail. It has tons of detail. I'm not trying to put you down. I love it, but basically this one is reproducible. That's what I want to say, and for the business purposes, it makes more sense. So after we picked the style, we just decided to see if it works. And on a side note, for every game that we make, there are roughly 6 failed prototypes that we build together or separately. So we liked that art, and we decided to give it a go. So in November and December, Helen has drawn some more conceptual pictures that can also be used in the game. For example, the ship that is used as a traveling vessel later on. It was drawn in November before the game was even done, and it gathered like around 300 likes on Twitter, and we're like, wow, 300 likes. For us, it's a big deal. I know like it's probably most of you are laughing right now. And apart from that, I've also built some gameplay GIFs without the actual gameplay. So Helen has drawn some islands. I just thrown them together and added some sort of UI or minimal action and just checked how it performs. And both of them, I think, had more than 100 Twitter likes, which compared to our audience is quite a lot. So it just shown that those pictures can be shared and bring some organic growth, which was important for us because I suck at marketing. After that, we had to actually understand the limitations of the style. So before that, I had an idea of the sky traveling game or a strategy. And but if we think about this style, those buildings in 2D, you don't have the possibility to put a lot of them on the screen. So you can only have a very limited amount of buildings on the screen. And if you imagine it as a base building game, there's just, you would have to scroll through tens of buildings just to find the one that you need and to interact with it. So that was one of the limitations. Another one was, do we just keep all the islands, backgrounds on the same style? And how do we actually add the depth to the game, establish the production chains, etc.? So after some thought, we just came up with the global map or a world map that just connects those small nodes of the islands that have some functions performing. Basically, it can either be building a base or meeting some weird creatures and just having random encounters, which are not in the game yet, but there will be. And yes, so it just came together. I understand this sounds really simple right now, but it took us some time. How do we work out like with the game that has also, apart from the pretty graphics, also has a somewhat decent gameplay? I hope it's decent. Please don't judge me. Basically, after we've decided to give it a go, we've built a prototype. And as you may know, the best way I think right now to launch the game on Steam, not the best way, but for the indies, you need to gather some wish lists, and basically you need to convert the people that come to you looking for a game. So we couldn't have a Steam page right away because we didn't have a graphics and we didn't have a prototype. I couldn't make a trailer. So while we were building the game prototype, we were actually focusing on art and on the buildings of the world, what is happening, what is going to happen. For example, this is a trade guild, which we came up with, which is going to give tasks to the player, or a forest that you can find lumber, where you can find lumber, gather resources, and eventually establish your own base by building lumber camp, which automatically produces them, and the bazaar, which sells the items at random prices. Basically, we had some plot ideas behind the buildings or just functionality, have drawn them, and then tried to build a minimum viable prototype around them. And as soon as we had it, we've launched the Steam page with basic art. At that point, we had a gameplay loop, but we didn't have a lot of content. Essentially, what was on the Steam page was all we had at that point. And there were two different tweets, in-Gur posts and press releases, which were ignored mostly. But it started some good traction that I'm going to show here. So basically, this is the wishlist graph, how many people were adding it. At the end, we had roughly 5,000 wishlists before the launch. And it was the number we were aiming for, so it's all good. But I wanted to analyze some of the spikes or maybe some of the downward things that have influenced it or just happened during the release. So basically the first spike is the announcement. We had like a lot of wish lists. At that point it just seemed like a lot. And we were, all right, this might work out if we just persist and keep the page online for some time. The second one was when we announced the second trailer. It has roughly 2 times better response. And my guess is this because we had a lot of assets at that point and we had a lot of graphical things to show, and basically the functionality was there. The third one is rock, paper, shotgun mention. It's a small bump, but it's there. So there's a lot of argument whether the press is relevant or not. It gives the effect. That's my conclusion. But rock, paper, shotgun is quite big. The fourth one is when we started posting development logs and in-Gur posts. Basically, in-Gur is the image gallery where you just post some GIFs or and tell a story with it. So it went quite all right, almost the same result as rock, paper, shotgun mentioned. So, but it also took 2 days to prepare. So, yes. Fifth graph, when there's almost no wish list, is the summer sale, which pretty much ruined the smaller indies, at least from what I've talked to, because people were deleting stuff from the wish list. I guess it also is a good indicator of what people want or not, but it wasn't very clear. Also, the sixth one, which is larger than those two ones, is when we tweeted a singing carrot.
You can use the laser.
Can I use the laser?
Middle button.
Sorry.
Press the middle.
Yes. Alright, so this is the singing carrot, and it had huge success. More than Rock Paper Shotgun article, and it's like, wow. Alright, and the seventh one is the third trailer, which performed worse than the singing carrot. And yes, I made 3 trailers. Sorry for pointing the laser at you guys. I'm still learning the ropes. Basically, another thing that helped was mentorship by Weather Factory. It's the company that made Cultist Simulator. I've applied, I think, previous year, and they accepted me. So about the mentorship, I think mentorship helps you to progress as a game development, but you need to know what you're doing. Basically, you need to have a vision and mission. Whatever, even if it sounds like a stupid thing to you, then it is super necessary to know what you want to get, where you want to get to with your company, and basically understand what kinds of projects you want to take on later on. It was a great opportunity to reach out for the advice from the industry professionals, and basically it was a sanity check for me. I knew what I wanted to do, but I could ask, hey, is this thing that we're going to do stupid or not? And they would just basically tell me how it was, which is great. Also, when we released the game, they were pretty much tweeting it everywhere, so I highly recommend it. You can find more info here. Apart from that, I wanted to tell about how our release preparation went. Basically, I've made a huge plan checklist for every day. It's a shorter version, but this is how it worked. First, I just started to gather YouTuber contacts, and the main focus all over the process was basically me luring people with pretty GIFs and images, and people just wanted to try the game out. So I had around 150 keys sent to YouTubers and Twitch streamers. About a third of this ended up being in a video, which I think is quite impressive, at least for me. I've also ran some Facebook ads and Reddit ads, but not to attract people over the preparation time, but to create this burst of attention right when the game released. So I didn't spend a lot of money on it, but I just wanted to get some visits on the Steam page to maybe get to new and trending if enough people decide to give it a go. Apart from that, just whenever you release the game, I just wanted to say that you need to have a checklist and a plan that you can blindly follow because you're freaking out every day. Another thing that helped me was the Rock Knight Studio stream and broadcast on our main page, which gathered 200 people. It didn't result in a lot of sales, but it was nice engagement-wise, and we had 200 people just chatting between themselves on the release day. And as soon as you hit this 100 people threshold, Steam starts to show your game in the relevant tagging categories, etc. One weird thing that I did not expect was the 9gag post. I actually made the 9gag post and said, hey, I made the game of my dreams, check it out. And a lot of people upvoted it and it got into trending, and it helped. Our Reddit post, which we made, got deleted because I was breaking my self-promotion rules, and basically, I don't spam, but I mostly comment on things and not post any other stuff on Reddit. So we had a lot of traction, but Reddit took it down. I understand why. I don't hate you, Reddit. But yes, next time, just ask your friends to make a Reddit post for you. And a huge shout out to Rock Knight Studios, which actually hosted the stream, and it was a huge help. Apart from that, sales, the numbers, the data, which everyone might be interested in, they're not great, but not particularly terrible. I think we've reached 2,500 copies by the end of the first week, so this is enough for us to end the game, like complete it the way we want to do. So overall, I treat it as it's fine. It's fine. It's alright. Basically, what is interesting about this, and probably obvious, is how the bumps work. Since our audience is mostly in the US, you can see there's the bumps mostly happen during the day there, but also the important thing, which I could not trace before because bigger YouTubers never covered our game much, but this time a few big YouTubers actually covered the game, and you could see the bumps. For example, this bump was when Splattercat covered the game, and it was bigger than the release day bump. So it's pretty cool. YouTubers are cool. To a surprise of absolutely no one. But yes. I wanted to say that it pays off to write personal emails, even if you think that your game might not be good enough yet. I've been doing it for all 4 years. And finally I see that it works. Yes, apart from that, how I treated it is I've set an embargo on release date, and it worked out okay. Thank you, Niels, for suggesting the release date embargo. Some people were suggesting the 3 days in advance, but I decided to just go for a release date. Basically, I was not like saying, I will sue you if you post the video. I was just asking, can you please wait out until July 30th? Because other YouTubers will also have a chance to get noticed. And yes, overall, we have around 200,000 views across all the YouTube. And my conclusion, also probably to surprise no one, is that the games need to be localized, because a lot of the comments in the foreign-speaking YouTubers is there's no localization. So yes, I think we're going to focus on localization eventually. Post-release, I think 25% of all of my time goes into community management, and whenever I post something witty, I try to include the GIF again, and those in-game things, and maybe I wouldn't call it a meme, but some objects in the game. You can play around the vocabulary and just make puns, etc. with the fans when they report something or tell you about it. Overall, I say also scheduling the updates is very important. Like, our next update is on August 22. Even if we don't have all the features that we want, we just postpone them in a separate branch and ship what we can, because I think establishing trust is important. But critical bug fixes also go right away as soon as I fix it. Apart from that, I think that's all I wanted to tell. Thank you for listening. If anyone has the questions, I'm here to answer it. Elvis.
Yeah, can you go to slide 2 or something, or slide 3? So there was a slide about these 6 prototypes or something like that.
Right. I don't say that we build prototypes with this graphic, but yes, basically, when you get this cool idea that you want to make with the game, and you're like, I'm gonna devote all of my power to build it.
No, you already said.
Yep, just a second. Yeah, I'm past it. And you just get obsessed with the idea, but then your enthusiasm curbs a bit, and you understand that maybe it was not the great idea. So yes.
Failed prototypes, how do you...
Yeah, so failed prototypes, how do you define failed prototypes? How do you test it and validate it?
Basically, if I don't find it fun, then I just cut it.
So you yourself?
Yes, and if I find it fun, I send it to like 2 or 3 of my friends and ask what they think. And if I'm 100% sure, then I probably
do you
will
think that
do
you can objectively do that?
it.
That you can define what...
That's a good question, but let's imagine that I build a hugely successful game that is not fun to me, and
Okay.
I just don't think I can keep working on something that I don't find fun, even if it's super good.
More questions?
All right.
Wait.
So, what's the percentage of wish lists?
What's the percentage of wish lists being converted in the first days?
Close to the standard, about 8%, I think.
Did you notice any removal of wish lists?
During the summer sale, but pretty much everyone who...
Tell everybody about the summer sale.
Basically, here's what happened during the summer sale, and I'm not throwing any stones towards Valve, but there was an action, there was this campaign when they said everybody who joins the team and their racing team wins, there was this racing event, will get the top wishlist game for free. And everybody thought it's a random wishlist game for some reason, so everybody just started deleting other games to leave Cyberpunk 2077. That's what happened. So I think we've lost maybe half of wishlist editions at that day, but I know some people who were losing thousands of wishlists because of this. So it was pretty grim, but afterwards it returned to normal. So thank you, Olga. Right. Yanis. Or Maris, whatever.
How did you decide on the amount of content to include in the first release?
Alright, basically we had the BayRSD contest here, right? And I had a talk with some of the judges afterwards, and they said we don't have enough content, so we postponed the release date by 2 months just to address it. Even though actually my mentor said it could work out, but why challenge it? So we just decided to postpone it 2 months. Of course it means more product development costs and you're taking a bigger risk, but it paid out because we also accumulated around 2,000 wishlists at that time. So I think it was worth it. Yeah.
Do you plan to add more content in the future?
Basically, the game is in early access, so the whole process is going to be adding more content. But yes, we actually think we need to add more content, then increase the price, because right now it's $7.99. A lot of people were writing me that they didn't treat it seriously because they thought the price is small and it's going to be an asset flip. So it was super weird and surreal. But yes, I think we're going to raise the price eventually, even before it leaves early access, because we plan to add more content as time goes on.
Any more questions? There's the microphone. No?
Fight for the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Do I just give it to you?
Yeah, thank you. Probably that's it. And I think now it's time for the game. Yeah. Louder, come on, come on. Oh.
Sneaky peeky.
Hello, I'm Elvis, and I will tell you a little bit about what happened since the last meetup. So we had the booth at Unicon. We had 4 games, and it was as fun as always. And the next is we had a global game jam next. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's a game jam for kids, and they actually learn how to make games during the jam. So we had 8 participants, 4 games made, 2 of them 2D games, 2 of them 3D games. So they learned how to make games in Unity during the event. Since I returned from Russia on Monday, let's play the game.
Do we need to answer in Russian?
So we have 3 beers, and let's start with the first one. So you combine the pictures and you try to guess the game. The first one to do so will get the free beer. Well, not free, you have to actually guess the game. So 3, 2, 1.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, Kingdom Hearts there. Okay, that was easy. That was just a warm up. So the next one. 3, 2, 1.
Tetris.
Yes, Tetris. So TED and Riga International School. Okay, that was pretty quick. And the last one. 3, 2, 1.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
No.
That's extreme archery.
Nope.
Archer?
No.
San Andreas. Frostpunk.
Oh, finally something longer than a few seconds.
Down for the copy.
Snow White.
Silent Hill.
So this hero.
Robin.
Yes, so it not the guy himself, but
Snow Hero?
no the story of him.
Right.
So the story in synonym for that. Yes,
No tail. No.
something like that.
Gory Tail.
No, not the tail, but something like that.
Apex Legends?
Yes.
Yes.
Apex and Legend. So you get the last one. Okay, so thank you. And thanks for coming to the...
Keanu Reeves.
Me? No, you are breathtaking. So thanks for coming to GameDev Meetup 74 and see you next month.
75.
This is 74. 75. See you in 76.